good evening and welcome to Undaunted, bringing you on stories. I am Star Smart. Let's begin. When you hear the youths are the future, or the youths are leaders of tomorrow, certainly not for La République du Cameroon. The aging La République colonial administrators are holding tight to power without giving to any thought of quitting. In a situation where colonial administrators want only death to take them out of office. There is sadly no place for the youths. The youth have lost hope of their tomorrow and are instead engaged in nefarious and criminal activities as a way of finding comfort in a hopeless society created by La République du Cameroun. One of the many reasons the British Southern Cameroon are fighting to break off the unholy union with this failed regime, only reaping off of its resources. Now, speaking of the war in Ambazonia, the world's 10 most neglected crises are all in Africa, with the war in the Cameroons being the third on the list. Yet the world, and especially African leaders, are calling for a ceasefire in Gaza, once again neglecting the war in Ambazonia. Isn't this clear-cut international hypocrisy and not diplomacy? Because every life should matter. We'll dive deeper into this amongst many others right after the prime headline.
Here is the prime headlines now. Right tonight, on Undaunted, fuel scarcity increases anyhow. Colonial La Republic authorities in Amberland tries to fight against Monday goes down. University of Boyer students decry delayed graduation. Also tonight, African leaders neglect Amazonian war but tries to talk for ceasefire in Gaza. ADF bans funerals and weddings in Big Babanki Chuba local government area in Mazam County. Tonight on Undaunted, Catholic priest freed after 2 days in ADF captivity. Also, bloodbath in Womb local government area. What has happened? That you should find out also tonight. Sadly, tonight as well, Chimpanzee disqualifies one in a Sioux local government area. And on the foreign scene, South Africa, four countries rise to ICC once Israel investigated for war crimes. Now let's get the news in detail. Cameroon government authorities in the war-torn Ambazonia are trying to intensify their fight against the tradition of observing Monday as Ghost Town Days. Now, this was ordered by the People's Interim Government, headed by President Samuel Ikomisako, to mourn innocent denizens of Ambazonia who has been killed by this senseless war inflicted by the genocidal Paul Biya. It
Well,
is in this light that on the 28th September, colonial enablers, La Republic de Cameroon governor of the southern zone of Ambazonia, Bernard Okalai Bilai, who refers to Ambazonians as rats, cats, dogs, and cockroaches, rallied against traditional chiefs and rulers and key La Republic de Cameroon officials of the southern zone to discuss strategies to counteract towns. Sonia La Republic de Cameroon Lieutenant in Faculty Senior Divisional Officer Chabu swung into action, urging the population to seize the long practice of declaring Mondays as non-working or ghost town days. The colonial SDO ongoing campaign spans from Muyuka, Boya, Tico, and Victoria local government areas. Now the question is, will Ambazonia fall for this pressure? The answer is definitely no. They are solidly and bravely behind the interim government, and their word is, of course, banned. This is also to notify you that Ambazonians observed the Monday Ghost Town yesterday, regardless of all of this pressure. So smart. How are you today?
very well, Oni. Very well. Good evening, Ambazonians. Well, yesterday being another Monday ghost towns, we had more of La Republique's and its surrogate fight against the Monday lockdowns. Of course, the determination of Ambazonians scared it was in full gear, and of course, they absolutely disregarded all of the plans by La Republique to stop the Monday ghost towns from taking place. They respected the Monday ghost towns as a sign of civil disobedience against La Republique's governance in the entire Amazonia. Well, we can see all of their evil manipulations to get the people stranded, but no, the people are determined to flush out La Republique out of its sovereign territory. But as the world knows, this new stance comes only after a lot of predecessors have tried and failed in their attempt to stop this Monday ghost towns. Notable officials like the mayor of Boya, David Mafani Namenge, took to the streets to enforce compliance. He warned that the council would permanently shut down businesses closing under the pretext of Monday ghost towns, and shop owners whose premises were sealed reportedly had to pay substantial sums of over 50,000 francs CFA.
All right, moving on. We have this very sad information from Wom local government area. It says houses has been reports from Wom Menchum County last weekend confirmed that five houses were set on fire following the killing of a Colonial La Republic of Cameroon man who was found raping an Mbororo girl in the vicinity. Now, this act provoked the Mbororos and went on rampage with fire and touched the village. Now, the report goes on to say that houses located in the neighborhood, for those who know the Menchum County, the Wanagwen neighborhood, were set on fire because of this colonial rapist who is also a soldier. You already know how they do when they are caught in such atrocities. They try to inflict the pain on innocent people.
Well, it would appear that La Republique's insecurity forces were not on scene at the time to stop the angered population from causing more destruction. Reports equally add that it is not the first time that the houses and Bororos were going on riot in the area. Some of them, including the Fulanese and the Bororos, are usually um, instigated by the colonial La Republique administration and the land to cause havoc on indigents.
Well, the unholy union of the former British Southern Cameroons with La Republic de Cameroon has helped the deteriorating educational system of Ambazonia. Given education of the Cameroons is managed by neighboring La Republic de Cameroon to superimpose the French system on the Anglo-Saxon system of education. La Republic de Cameroon has only helped in destroying the English system of education in Ambazonia. Now you can imagine the people speak English, but then they must be taught in French. How inconveniencing. Now it was in an attempt to salvage the Anglo-Saxon system of education, which is the loan industry in Ambazonia, that teachers in 2016 carried out a peaceful protest calling on the La Republic de Cameroon colonial government to restore the lost glory of the English system of education. A genuine request that the La Republic de Cameroon ruler Paul Biya decided to use firearms to down. Today, as an effect of the destructive hands of La Republic de Cameroon on the Anglophone system of education, the University of is unable to graduate her students who are due for graduation. Yet, recruitment of freshmen keeps on going. The question we are trying to find out is why admit students when they can't graduate? The possible way out to revive the Anglo-Saxon system of education is by, of course, letting and flushing out La Republic de Cameroon from Ambazonia.
Well, the full report has it that a student from the University of Boya has come forward lamenting and shedding light on the apparent abandonment on the Faculty of Health Sciences, specifically the Department of Epidemiology and Infectious Diseases. The student who wishes to remain anonymous voiced in the graduation process sparking about the university's commitment to student advancement. Now, the student stated that she believes um, in the national voice and have assisted others and hopes to bring attention to this particular matter for those concerned, expressing frustration over the lack of progress in the academic journey. Admitted into a 2-year master's program in 2019 with fees totaling 750,000 francs CFA, the student highlighted the normal timeline expected to graduate by December 2021. However, until this year, there are still no signs of the affected students without guidance on whom to or where to lodge their complaints. And disclosed encountering seniors from 2018 and even 2017 who are still awaiting graduation. Come to the prevailing uncertainty when the concerns are raised. She's told to be patient, citing that even her still awaiting graduation. While the students shared underscoring the act of urgency from the university's administration.
The issue is not related to failing courses or incomplete projects. According to the student, we have successfully validated every course and completed our projects. Yet, time is passing days, months, and years. With no defense booked, no date scheduled, and no progress, the student lamented many peers have reportedly given up and left the country, leaving those without alternatives stranded in academic limbo. Meanwhile, as affected continue to face uncertainty, new admissions persist, exacerbating the frustration. Now, as we speak, over 3 cohorts are still waiting to graduate, and new admissions keep happening. The students reviewed, raising questions about the university's priorities and the purpose of admitting students if progression is hindered. The plea is directed at the University of Boyer, specifically the Faculty of Science and the Faculty of Health Sciences, particularly the Department of Epidemiology.
Well, the student suggests that the department appears to hinder rather than enhance students' academic cycles. Quote, I am wondering and unable to focus, hoping for something that seems unattainable even in the near future. The student expressed seeking assistance in posting this message while concealing their identity due to potential repercussions that could further delay their progress. Well, as concerns grow over the plight of students in the Faculty of Health Sciences, it remains to be seen if the university will respond to address the issue raised and provide clarity on the path way for these students.
Well, moving on, for those who can't graduate or go to school, what else are they doing? Well, arrest launches war against drug lords in Bamenda. As it is widely known, youths are the leaders of tomorrow. This can be true elsewhere in the world or other places in the world, but definitely not in the Cameroons. And the situation of the Cameroons, the divided whole of the union between the former British Southern Ambazonia and neighboring La Republic du Cameroon, the youth seems to be searching for the future, if there is even any future for them. Now, the La Republic of Cameroon colonial administrators are holding tight to power without leaving any sense of quitting in a situation where colonial administrators want only death to take them out of office, then there is no place for the youths soon.
Well, the youths have lost hope of their tomorrow and are engaged in drugs as a means of solace. Colonial administrators are making the future look oblique for youths. The youths owe themselves the task of self-employment. The Amazonian Restoration Forces in Bamenda, the chief town of Mizam County, have launched a war against drug abuse, responsible for destroying the youth in the city of Bamenda. This war is also against drug lords responsible for destroying this youth as well in Bamenda. It is ridiculous, which further exposes the mission of the La Republican forces in Amazonia, in that how the so-called forces of law and order turn a blind eye to those selling hard drugs to youths in Bamenda. Could this be any clearer that care about the future of the lining up their pockets? Well, thanks to the Amazonian Restoration Forces, they stepped in to restore order. After all, La Republic has no genuine care for Amazonian youths.
Well, the ARFs, the Amazonian Restoration Forces, have declared war on drug lords in the city of Bamenda, town, Basin County. This is a move by the ARF to rescue Amazonian youths and some hopeless adults who have been overwhelmed by the ongoing war in Amazonia and the bad governance of neighboring La Republic of Cameroon colonial governments. The hub of drug trafficking is found in the city of Bamenda in the Old Town neighborhood, where more than four confirmed drug taking places and a dozen of petite sales points has been discovered.
Now, you might wonder, how are the ARFs trying to curb the sale and consumption of these drugs? Well, as a strategy to curb the sale and consumption of these drugs in Bamenda, ranging from human bones to cocaine, the Amazonian Restoration the operations coupled as the youth president for the Old Town neighborhood and a councillor to the Colonial Bamenda 2 Council. Investigations have shown that even the colonial forces of La Republique are members of these drug communities in the city of Bamenda. This justice is why they are not bothered by the high rate of drug consumptions amongst teenagers in Bamenda.
Well, this particular youth leader, whose name is Franklin, is also known as Moja Moja. He has spent 3 days in custody and was later released. Well, Undaunted tried in vain to get Franklin to talk about the instructions and the treatment that was given to him in custody. But after Franklin, the Ambazonian Restoration Forces carried out another attempt to arrest another drug lord, but it wasn't even possible. Well, the drug taking spot that was usually jammed to captivity is now empty as all of them dread the return of the ARFs. Well, this is still a developing story, and Undaunted will report any next move of the ARFs to free Bamender and make it a better place.
Oh, well, moving on. Undaunted ABC Amber News says forces loyal to Ayaba Cho's notorious for inflicting pain on peace-loving Amazonians in Big Babanki have warned the population of the village against any attempt to carry out traditional ceremonies like funerals, celebrations, weddings, and many more. The warning is contained in a 5-minute audio that went viral on social media. In the audio, who identified himself as the spokesman for the so-called General Spirito, said all these activities from 17th of November 2023 have been banned and from taking place in the villages. No reason for such a decision was given by the announcer.
Well, the speaker went ahead to say they have equally banned guard, quarterheads, and other notables of the entering the phone's palace. The speaker threatened the Babanki population with death if anyone violates the order. Now, let's listen to what the speaker said.
We are sending out this warning to the people of Big Babanki. I am the spokesman of Dels Kujunkeku, under General Spirito of Big Babanki. My fathers and my mothers, brothers and sisters of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, those in Big Babanki preside this is not an announcement, it is rather a warning. We won't talk a lot, but I am sure everyone is aware of all the atrocities the La Republic military is committing in our land. So I stand here today to pass this warning to all the inhabitants of Babanki. From today, November 17th, 2023, we hereby ban all forms of celebrations in Big Babanki, be it funeral, wedding, baby showers, or any sort of celebration. And should anyone insist on celebrating anything, be out of Big Babanki. This ban will extend till 2024. We have also put a ban to all activities around the palace. No one should be found near the palace for whatsoever reason. No one should be involved in any activity with the fun. Seen interacting with large public elements, business, or anything. One should sing with them because when whatever is about to happen happens, we don't want to lose any of our civilians. There is no return in the struggle as we begun it, and we all are involved in this. We all saw what happened in Big Babanki 5 months ago when our public military came into Big Babanki and killed over 30 innocent people for no just cause. We are tired of talking because too much talking is not good. It does not get the work done. We lay emphasis on those who have been brainwashed. Those who call themselves the anti-gang, we ask them to stop immediately. If you are a member, this is your first and last. Abandon such bad groups and run for your life. This warning should go to all. For anyone who doesn't obey or listen to what's said, he or she would have his or herself to blame.
Well, this news was received with mixed feelings in the village and in every household in Babanki. The topic of discussion is the warning from the so-called ADF that works closely with Wangan G boys and the Colonial Republic of Cameroon Bees.
Well, threats from the ADF followed their storming of the village 2 weeks ago, where they took with them 9 people, tagging them blacklegs. The decision by the ADF to ban celebrations and the movement of people to the Fawn's Palace has been highly criticized and condemned, arguing that the decision has no base and it's like punishing the same people they are supposed to protect. Many Babanki people on social media have expressed their anger at such a decision.
Well, still on the atrocities of the ADF, well, news just got to us. Reverend Father Harris Wadinga Foyan, a priest from the Archdiocese of Bamenda, was released after spending 2 nights in captivity under the control of Ambazonia Defense Fighters, the ADF, and that Father Harris Wadinga ordeal began on the November 12, 2023, when he was abducted from the parish house in Babawon, Ngotuja County, and released on the 14th of November 2023. The Bamenda Archdiocese has not released any statement on Reverend Father Foyan's predicament. However, amidst their apprehension, there were expressions of gratitude for the safe return of Father Harris Wadinga Foyan. Tragically, Father Harris Wadinga Foyan's release comes on the heels of another incident in the region.
Well, a few days prior to this incident, by Cyprian Ngay, a Catholic missionary, fell victim to a brutal stabbing while en route to Ndavukong Street in Queen Bamenda local government area with his younger brother, a laboratory technician. Eyewitnesses report a premeditated act as a stone was found inside the car used to shatter the vehicle's windscreen, leaving brother Cyprian vulnerable in the driver's. While the prevailing conflict in Ambazonia continues to exacerbate insecurity, resulting in a rise in toll of lives lost. As the community grapples with the aftermath of this incident, there is a growing call for concerns and concerted efforts to address the root causes of the conflict and ensure the safety of individuals, including religious priests.
Well, moving on, let's look at the sad incident from Eshu local government area. Now, it is recurrent with animals attacking humans in Eshu village of Menchun County. This is accused to, or this is because of the ongoing war in Ambazonia. Before the war, history has it that hunters used in the nearby forest around the Eshu village. But when the war started, neighboring La Republic du Cameroon colonial authorities collected all the guns from the hunters in a move to deprive Ambazonians of firearms. Some hunters have even fled the village as a result of the tense atmosphere as a result of the war. So the animals that were pushed to the extremes by the hunters are now back to the point of crossing to settlements. They are now a threat to farmers and woodcutters. Road users are not even spared. A citizen has attacked and disqualified one Mr. Robert Ngong, a woodcutter in Isu village. This incident makes it the third of such attacks in 3 years.
Well, the full report has it that Robert Ngong, a woodcutter, has survived a chimpanzee attack in Esu, a village in Menchum County of Ambazonia. Ngong was felling a tree, an activity he routinely carries out in the area when the incident occurred around 2 p.m. on Thursday, November 16th. Suddenly, a chimpanzee attacked him, causing severe injuries on both his hands and face. Ngong has injuries on his forehead, mouth, and other parts of his body which have caused significant disfiguring. Ngong is now nursing his wounds at the Esu Health District Hospital. The staff of the hospital provided initial treatment before deciding to refer Ngong to a specialized hospital for further care, according to Cameroon Infotren. Well, Esu has witnessed such harrowing incidents before. In 2022, a similar chimp attack occurred, a land known only as Lagi, completely deformed. But he survived. Tragically, in 2021 as well, a chimpanzee inflicted injuries on another resident named Ntong Eja, resulting in severe fingers and legs, severed fingers and legs, torn face, and ripped off toes. Oh, well, moving on, all of this because of the war in Ambazonia. Well, we have African leaders calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. They are doing this when they have neglected the war in same continent as them, the war in Amazonia. This is certainly international hypocrisy and not diplomacy, because even lives matter, every life matters. What is good is also good for the Gambia. It is true that some African leaders have been more vocal about the conflict in the camp. There could be reasons for this. For example, the conflict in Gaza has been going for a while now, and it has attracted a lot of media attention. For now, Russia and Ukraine war got attention as well, but not after.
Well, the conflict in the Cameroon is not even relatively new. It's been on for 7 years. But then other conflicts in other parts of the world that are within 3 years has gotten world recognition. Why is that? The war in Ambazonia has been on for 7 years and counting, and it has not received as much attention from the international community nor from her fellow African countries. It has gone into record as the most neglected conflict in recent years, and the refugee numbers are on the high side. And it's tragic to think of the suffering that the people of the southern Cameroons have endured, and everything being equal. The UN and other international organizations should officially recognize the situation in the southern Cameroons, Ambazonia, as genocide immediately to avoid more bloodletting. Do you think that there should be a ceasefire in Ambazonia, or do you think that African leaders are right in supporting Gaza and other countries like Russia and Ukraine? Well, Gab Ellison will take us deep into more of it.
We have witnessed unfathomable death and destruction in the Gaza Strip and Israel. Thousands of people have been killed, injured, displaced, and nearly 200 remain held hostage, including children and the elderly. In Gaza, the UN has said that water, food, fuel, medical supplies, and even body bags are running out due to the siege. The UN warned that people, particularly young children, will soon start dying of severe dehydration. Neighborhoods have been destroyed and torn into complete rubble. Palestinians in search of safety have nowhere to go. Many of those who relocated from northern Gaza to the south after relocation order by the Israeli army were reportedly bombed as they attempted to flee or once they arrived in southern Gaza. The events of last week have led us to the precipice of a humanitarian catastrophe, and the world can no longer wait to act. It is our collective responsibility. On Sunday, October 15th, the United Nations Humanitarian Coordinator to the occupied Palestinian territory appealed to all parties to the conflict and to member states with influence to urgently agree to a humanitarian ceasefire. Today, we put our voices together and call on all heads of state, the UN Security Council, and actors on the ground to prioritize the preservation of human life above all else. During this ceasefire, we call on all parties to unconditionally facilitate the delivery of life-saving assistance, including food, medical supplies, fuel, and the resumption of electricity and internet to Gaza, in addition to safe passage of humanitarian and medical staff. Free all civilian hostages, especially children and the elderly. Allow humanitarian convoys to reach UN facilities, schools, hospitals, and health facilities in northern Gaza and commit to protecting them, along with the civilians and staff inside them. Receivers by the government of Israel for civilians to depart northern Gaza. Allow patients in critical condition to be medically evacuated for urgent care. The UN Security Council, the UN Secretary General, and all world leaders with influence must take immediate action to ensure a ceasefire comes into effect. It remains our only option to avert further loss of civilian life and humanitarian catastrophe. Anything less will forever be a stain on our collective conscience. Civilians are not bargaining chips. Families need a chance to bury and mourn their dead. The cycle of violence against innocent civilians needs to stop. The loss of life in the southern Cameroon, Ambazonia, is just as tragic as the loss of life in Gaza, and all lives should be equally valued. It's unacceptable that the international community seems to prioritize some conflicts over others. It is frustrating to see African leaders show more concern for conflict in the Middle East than a conflict on their own continent. Gab Ellison, Undaunted, ABC Amber News.
Well, with that feature, you get to see that the UN and other international organizations should avoid double standards and officially recognize the situation in Cameroon as a genocide, declare a ceasefire, go to the negotiation table for the total independence of the sovereign people of the Southern Cameroons. Now, Ambazonia, because the Southern Cameroons have been marginalized, discriminated against for many years, dating back to the country's Independence Day in 1961.
Well, also, if you can remember, the videos emanating from the war in Ambazonia is as gruesome, as terrible, as heartbreaking as the videos emanating from the war in Gaza or from the war in Russia and Ukraine. So the recent escalation of violence is only the latest chapter in a long and difficult history about a suffering people for no fault of theirs. We're talking about the recent massacre in Mayu. Now, if the annexed government of La Republic to Cameroon should withdraw its troops, there will be ceasefire and negotiations for a peaceful separation can take place under the UN and under the conditions that the interim government presents.
Moving on, La Republique's economy continues to go porous. Vehicles are grounded in Yaoundé, passengers stranded for lack of fuel. How can they take care of another country, southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, when commodities like fuel is barely available in a nation's capital? Well, the signs were visible for the blind over the weekend as commuters and passengers now spend hours on one spot waiting for taxis that never came. Few drivers on the road told their passengers that they barely headed homewards because they had no fuel to even run taxi cabs that morning.
Well, reports from yesterday morning, most workers put on their sports shoes to face the odds of making offices and probably await sanctions. These are early signs of a collapsing country coming ahead of the moribund parliament holding the budgetary sessions, which comes up every November. The 2024 state budget of La Republic of Cameroon has been earmarked to have a significant increase depending on increased taxes as a survival measure. The state budget for the year 2023 was 345.1 CFA in billions in resources and expenses.
Not forgetting that the total expenditure for 2023 was projected at 6.4 billion francs CFA, an increase of 32.7 billion francs CFA in absolute terms compared to 2022. Generally speaking, the budget policy for the 2023 fiscal year focused on optimizing the mobilization of tax, customs, and non-tax revenues, which have touched businessmen and investors right into the marrow. Before the Colonial La Republic Parliament comes out with the blueprint in early December, sources close to the reporter have disclosed that 2024 in La Republique would be a catastrophic year.
The price of fuel may go up from what it is currently, 730 francs EFA to 1000 francs EFA per liter, and that the corrupt state, which is already too heavily indebted, might not be able to support the salary weight of its civil servants. And if civil servants go for a month without their salaries, that will be the final collapse. Peace is measured in La Republic of Cameroon only when civil servants take their salaries. But I mean, how else would they survive? Come out of their cars, drink their beers, and chase their women thinking that they are solving their problems when such problems are only being postponed. Now, let's take a practical example. Imagine a civil servant without his beer or without his extra cash. Just like every economy, with the increase in fuel, prices of all other basic commodities like food items, household necessities, transportation, and even building materials will surge. Life itself will even become unbearable because people would need to move from one place to the another. Without delving into the country's political quagmire at the level of succession, the days ahead are not favorable for neighboring La Republic to stand on its feet again. And it's a sad one. Coming up next is African Report.
On the African scene, while it's been years in the southern Cameroons, it's been 7 months of war, and Sudan now faces risk of collapse. In Sudan, the RSF, which now controls most of the capital Khartoum, has made lightning advances in Darfur. At the same time, the government army leaders have left the capital to retreat to the city of Port Sudan, which has been spared the fighting, exacerbating fears of a breakup of the country. Continued fighting could lead to terrifying scenarios, including divisions, warns Omar Youssef, spokesperson for the Forces of Freedom, for Freedom rather, and Change (FLC). The civilian bloc ousted from power in the 2021 push, led by the two generals who were allies at the time and now are at war. The growing wave of militarization of civilians is aggravating the social fissures, he added, telling reporters. At the negotiating table, the two sides, unable to gain a decisive advantage, have little intention of making concessions, demonstrated once again by the failure in early November of talks sponsored by the United States and Saudi Arabia, leading to fears of fragmentation of the country if the status quo is prolonged.
Heading to eastern DRC, 7 dead in gun battle fighting against the M23. 7 people were killed in an exchange of fire in North Kivu, the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo, where fighting on Sunday pitted the army against the M23 rebels, sources reported. The circumstances surrounding the shooting, which is in Urangongo territory, is a camp for displaced people just north of the provincial capital, Goma, who are unclear. The perpetrators have not been identified, said a host reporting 7 dead, 4 civilians and 3 soldiers, and even 11 wounded.
Well, the Democratic Republic of Congo opened its month-long electoral campaign on Sunday amidst anxiety and some 44 million registered voters out of a population of nearly 100 million will elect a president on December 20th amid a tense political climate and fighting in the east of the country. President Felix Tshisekedi is seeking a second term, with his allies praising his record. The opposition criticized the upcoming election as botched. The population in the city of Goma, capital of the eastern province of North Kivu, is also worried. We're worried because the M23 war is on Goma's doorstep, and what's more, this campaign is unlike the one in previous years, he said.
All right, DRC current presidential election, Matata Monyo withdraws in favor of Mosi Kachembe. Former Prime Minister between 2012 and 2016 of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Augustin Matata Ponyo, one of the opposition candidates in the 20th December presidential election, announced on Sunday evening his withdrawal in favor of Moise Kachumbi. This announcement follows the scout from the 13th of November to the 17th in South Africa between the emissaries of 5 opposition candidates, including the M. Matata and Kachumbi, former governor of the mining province of Katanga. During the consultations, the delegates of the 4 of them, according to the organizing NGOs, defined criteria for identifying the ideal common candidate likely to give the opposition the best chance against the outgoing president.
Well, in this electoral season for Africa, we had the former President Olusegun Obasanjo say Western-style democracy not suitable for Africa. He said this on Monday that went viral. Western liberal democracy is unsuitable for Africa and seems not to be working for Nigeria and other African countries. According to the former president of Nigeria, Western democracy, as it is being practiced in Nigeria and other African countries, should be re examined or moderated. He stated that this is because it has not delivered on good governance and progressive development for the continent. Obasanjo spoke at the high-level commission on rethinking Western liberal democracy in Africa held at the Green Resort Legacy, Obasanjo Presidential Library, Abeokuta in Nigeria. Coming up.
nations arrive in Belgium. The world most acts urgently to stem the conflict in Gaza. China's top diplomat said on Monday during a meeting with officials from Arab and Muslim majority nations as Beijing steps up its efforts to play a role in establishing a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas conflict. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi welcomed counterparts from Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Egypt, the Palestinian National Authority, and Indonesia, as well as the head of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation for a 2-day visit to the Chinese capital, the start of the delegation's expected tour of civil war capitals.
Well, still on the world's most trending, Israel army removes 500 patients from Al-Shifa hospital to meet their fate on Gaza streets. The Israeli army forcibly evacuated about 500 patients from Al-Shifa hospital in the west of Gaza City, including those who had been injured by its extensive onslaught, and left them to meet their fate on the streets as they were in serious conditions and needed extensive medical care. The government's media office in the Gaza Strip said this on Saturday. The Israeli army had given all those inside the Al Shifa medical complex a 1 hour deadline, forcing even patients in critical needs of medical care to leave the healthcare facility. The Gaza media office held the Israeli patient fully responsible for the safety and lives of all who were in the Al Shifa, including the wounded, premature babies, and medical staff.
Meanwhile, Russia cuts off new capable Iskander missiles to storm Ukrainian defenses. Continue to range Iskander ballistic missiles on Ukrainian targets, but now state manufacturer Rostec has realized the Tornado's S multiple launch rocket system is a cost-effective and ideal option for destroying such low-value targets. Beckham Osdave, Industrial Director of the Rostec Complex of Conventional Weapons, Munitions, and Special Chemical Compounds, announced that owing to the increased range of these ammunitions, the Tornado S multiple launch rocket system can be used to destroy targets where Iskander tactical missiles would be excessive. Well, this has been sent to newsmen to report across the globe.
Well, still about Russia, riots have reportedly surpassed 319,000 as the war in Ukraine is about to hit the 21-month mark. Well, approximately 690 Russian soldiers died on Sunday, bringing the total number of casualties to 319, 210 since the war began February 24, 2022. The General Staff of Ukraine's military said on Monday that's up from roughly 311,750 deaths reported 1 week ago. It is impossible to independently verify battlefield losses, and figures distributed by Kyiv tend to exceed estimates made by its Western allies. Newsweek reached out to Ukraine and Russia's defense ministries for comment via the mail and got this estimate.
Well, armed rebels is 50% of Myanmar's in military offensive. Myanmar's military, known as the Tatmadaw, is facing its biggest threat since it seized power 2.5 years ago in a significant challenge. The military junta is battling ethnic insurgent groups to keep control of the country's border towns. Different groups of well-armed rebels have joined forces for the first time and are gaining ground to restore democratic rule. The violence is causing people to flee to neighboring countries, bringing internal unrest to the world stage. After the takeover of the government by the Tatmadaw in February 2021 coup, ethnic rebels group based mainly in Myanmar's peripheral regions have organized armed opposition to the junta. In recent advances, rebels have seized nearly 100 outposts in the north of the country, including several vital towns and critical trade routes.
Well, former President Donald Trump's personal physician has released his medical report, giving the former president a clean bill of health and praising his recent weight loss and improved diet. The report released Monday by Dr. Bruce Aronwald who has served as 77-year-old Trump's physician since 2021, comes as concerns over President Biden's health continues to grow ahead of the 2024 presidential elections, specifically regarding his age and cognitive ability. Trump's physician said the former president's performance on cognitive exams was exceptional. The report was notably released on Biden's 81st birthday.
All right, and coming up next is sports. Let's join Gab Ellison in the sports studio.
Latest world sports. Football. Mamelodi Sundowns women reclaim continental glory in style. Mamelodi Sundowns are back on top of the African women's game after defeating Morocco's SC Casablanca in the CAF Women's Champions League final on Sunday. A brace from top scorer Tolakele Rafiwe and Boitumelo Rabele strike earned the South Africans victory in Cote d'Ivoire as they reclaimed the title they relinquished last year. The South impressive run in Cote d'Ivoire not only sees them reclaim the title to Asfar last season, but they set a record of lifting the title without conceding a single goal en route to glory. The historic win was achieved at the packed Amadou Gon Coulibaly Stadium in Kohogo on Sunday evening, where a brace by the tournament's top goal scorer, Tolakele Rafiwe, accompanied Boitumelo Rabele strike, so the South Africans crowned champions with a 3-0 victory over Morocco's SC Casablanca. This was the second meeting for the two sides in the tournament after meeting in the group stages, where Sundowns emerged 1-0 victors. With a clear mission of reclaiming the title, Sundowns wasted no time in getting numbers forward and were rewarded in the 21st minute when Rafiwe converted a penalty in the 21st minute. Minutes later, Rabele fired the South Africans to a 2-goal lead before the break from the edge of the box with a clinical finish that found the bottom corner. Coming back from the recess, the Moroccans tried getting back into the contest but were met by a resolute stance that frustrated each of their attacks. With momentum on their side, the South Africans put the cherry on top with Tolake's 78-minute finish to officially put the match beyond reach for the Moroccans and seal a second CAF Women's Champions League title for Sundowns, which is accompanied by a $400,000 winner's prize check. American football. NFL Week 11 results. Brock Purdy, perfect for 49ers Lions, and Browns win again. Brock Purdy produced a perfect game as the San Francisco 49ers continued their return to form, while the Detroit Lions and Cleveland Browns improved on their best starts for decades in Week 11 of the NFL. The Lions and the Browns have won at least 7 of their first 10 games for the first time since 1969, with their long-suffering fans having genuine cause for optimism this season. After 2 defeats, the Buffalo Bills kept their playoff hopes alive as Josh Allen sparked into life in a 32-6 victory over the New York Jets, who continued to struggle without the injured Aaron Rodgers. Josh Dobbs could not quite continue his remarkable season despite again throwing and running for a touchdown as his Minnesota Vikings had their 5-game winning run ended by a dramatic 21-20 defeat at the Denver Broncos. The Lions and Browns are 2 of only 4 teams never to make a Super Bowl appearance and the only 2 to have winless 0-16 seasons. But the usual sense of disappointment among their fans is turning into hope as they both continued their impressive seasons. After several fall downs over the years, Detroit under head coach Dan Campbell showed again they are the real deal as they overcame a 12-point deficit in the final 3 minutes to beat the Chicago Bears 31-26. "We got a chance to do something special," said Campbell after Detroit overcame 4 turnovers to go to 8-2 for the first time since 1962. Despite losing star quarterback, Cleveland could still do something special after they pinched another last-gasp victory. A 13-10 success over the Pittsburgh Steelers was the 4th game Cleveland have won inside the final 10 seconds this season. If rookie quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson can play like he did in the final minutes, then, coupled with ranked defense, the Browns could seriously challenge. Golf. ROSM Classic. Ludwig Aberg wins PGA Tour title 6 months after turning pro. Ludwig Aberg added to the astonishing start he has made to his professional career by claiming his maiden PGA Tour victory in the ROSM Classic. The Swede carded back-to-back rounds of 61 to finish 29 under par, 4 shots clear of Canada's Mackenzie Hughes. The win has moved Aberg, who turned professional in June, to world number 32 and secured an invitation to his first major, next year's Masters. I'm super happy. It's kind of beyond my dreams. The 24-year-old told NBC, "This is the sport that I love and the sport that I'm going to love for a very long time. Watching these events from a very young age is what I've done, so to see myself win is really cool." Aberg won on the DP World Tour at September's Omega European Masters and was described as a generational talent by Luke Donald when he was named one of the European captains' wildcard for the Ryder Cup. In Rome, he partnered Victor Hovland to a 4-3 victory in the opening foursomes against Max Homer and Brian Harman before the pair thrashed world number 1 Scotty Scheffler and 5-time major winner Brooks Koepka 9-7 in Saturday's foursomes. Speaking after his victory at Sea Island on Sunday, Aberg added, "It validates my skill set and my capabilities. If you told me I'd achieved this a couple of months ago, I would not have believed you. To be in this position, I need to pinch myself in the arm." Gabelson reporting for Undaunted, ABC Amber News.
All right, thank you so much, Gab Ellison, for that sports news. With that, report have come to the end of Undaunted tonight. But before we go, let's take a look at our major stories.
On Undaunted tonight, we brought to you colonial La Republic authorities in Ambazonia intensify the fight against the Monday ghost towns of yesterday. We brought to you fuel scarcity in La Republic's political capital, Yaoundé. University of Oyo students, the cry delayed graduation. The ADF also bans funeral and weddings in Big Babanki with no reasons whatsoever.
All right, tonight on Undaunted, we told you that African leaders are neglecting the war in Ambazonia, but pleading for ceasefire in Gaza. Catholic priests freed after 2 days in ADF captivity. Tonight, we also told you that houses burnt down in Wom local government area. Chimpanzee disqualifies one again in Esu local government area. South Africa for other countries' rights, ICC wants Israel investigated for war crimes. That was it for tonight, Undaunted. Bring it into the news on church stories. On behalf of Steve Smart and the entire Undaunted crew, we say thank you for tuning in.
We'll leave you with ABC Amber TV images. Good night and God bless you.